Welcome to the Street Dog Podcast, brought to you by the Street Dog Coalition. We are a national nonprofit providing free medical care and related services to pets of people experiencing or at risk of homelessness. I'm your host, Daria Tavana, and I'm also the Director of Development at the Street Dog Coalition. So on our podcast, we explore the world of animal welfare through the eyes of experts, street dog vets, and volunteers. And we also share inspiring stories. We provide updates on our advocacy work, and we give you a little peek behind the curtain at the challenges and rewards of working to improve the lives of animals belonging to people experiencing or at risk of homelessness. So if you're tuning in live on Facebook, drop an emoji in the comments, say hey, say what's up. And if you feel inspired to at any time during my conversation today with our lovely guest to ask a question, leave a comment, a note of encouragement. We accept all forms of currency when it comes to comments. So whatever is on your heart and on your mind, please feel free to share it with us. That's what we're here for. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or YouTube, go ahead and give us a follow on Facebook so that you can also tune in live every episode. That's going to allow you to engage with us in real time, which we absolutely love to do. So, okay, the hard stuff's out of the way. I'm like sweating and hot. I don't know well what done. That's all about.
Brava.
Thank you, Hilary.
Yes.
So I say I'm sweating and hot as if anyone can see me sweating or hot, but you guys know I appreciate and overshare and giving you too much information. So I'm sweating and we're gonna just roll with it. So on today's episode, you can obviously tell by the fact that I'm giving you way too much information. It's just family with me here today. We have Dr. Hilary Wheeler with us. Hilary is the Street Dog Coalition's medical director and Bay Area team lead, and practicing in the San Francisco Bay Area since 1998. Dr. Wheeler's focus is on improving animal health care options with an emphasis on wellness, pain management, and strengthening the human-animal bond. And I am so excited to have Hilary with us here today. She has so many amazing credentials, educational experience. Her background is very extensive, and she also has a full house. She has 2 kids, now teens, 2 rescued dogs, 2 rescued cats. I feel like this is dated, Hilary.
No, I now 3. Have 3 cats.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Amazing.
And a bunny.
And a bunny. Okay. Well, it's amazing. It's amazing what you do. And we just love you so much, Hilary. And I know you also work closely with rescue groups in your community, like the Dancing Cat and the Humane Society of Silicon Valley. So the woman who needs no introduction, Dr. Hilary Wheeler, thank you so much for joining us today, Hilary. You're the best.
What a welcome. Thank you. I am so happy to be here. And I love being with my family. This is going to be a fun podcast. I can't wait.
It really is. I think you and I get a lot done, and we're incredibly professional collaborators, but we're also friends. And you bring out a little bit of silly in me, which is a little dangerous in public platforms like this one. So channeling my inner professionalism here. Although, I'm sure I'll just give too much information and make weird comments throughout this episode because it's what we do best.
Perfect. Looking forward to it.
Yay. And if you guys are not familiar with Hilary, please go ahead and after you listen to this episode, tune into some of our previous episodes as well, where we have Hilary as a featured guest, as a co-host, because she's just such a wealth of knowledge and such an incredible light in our animal welfare community. And the main thing that we're going to focus on today is something that I know is really near and dear to not only Hilary's heart, but anyone listening to this podcast surely has felt the benefits of a human-animal bond. Surely you've been going through a difficult time in your life, and it's felt like maybe your cat or your dog or your bird or your bunny is the only one that understands you and the only one that brings you joy. And in the work that we do at the Street Dog Coalition in providing free veterinary care to pets of people experiencing homelessness, I think we see firsthand, as you might have also seen firsthand in your lives, to all of our listeners, that this human animal bond is not contingent on your financial status. It is not, it knows no limitations, it knows no bounds. And oftentimes, individuals who are struggling financially or working through trauma or navigating other difficult life experiences lean even more heavily into that human animal bond. So it is a real treat that we get to work to protect that human animal bond via our pop-up street clinics by taking care of both pets and their people who otherwise might not have access to care. So, Hilary, let's just rip the band-aid off. Let's just get right down into it. Can you maybe, let's see, where do I want to start? Maybe we can start off by you sharing with us how the human animal bond plays a role in the lives of individuals experiencing homelessness. And what are some examples that you've witnessed firsthand?
Yeah, honestly, this is my favorite topic. I am such an advocate of strengthening that human animal bond. It's something that I've seen in my own life and certainly in private veterinary practice. But what really was an amazing experience and truly a privilege was to see that bond in people that are experiencing homelessness and really understanding the depth of that bond, and also understanding that, as you said, everyone deserves to have that joy. Everyone deserves to be engaged with an animal in a way that supports their own mental health, that allows them to carry on each day. And we've all faced adversity, and a lot of times our animals are truly what gets us through that. I started volunteering with the Street Dog Coalition in the Bay Area in 2020. And I will say that very first pop-up clinic we did, which was in a parking lot, just a handful of people, a handful of animals. I had no idea what to expect. And it was in the height of COVID, of the pandemic in June of 2020. And there was a lot of uncertainty. And we all, I think the term that we heard more than we would ever care to hear was unprecedented in terms of what we were all experiencing and facing. And it had not even occurred to me. And I admit this because I know there are many of us out there that don't truly understand it until we see it. It had not occurred to me that the human animal bond in the lives of people experiencing homelessness really became the key factor that allowed them to get through, honestly, the worst time they had ever experienced. I mean, they were already, this is a group of people that are often neglected and ignored by society. And now you have a pandemic and there's social distancing and the services that might have been available to these individuals, a lot of those were cut off. And so showing up and not only being there to help with veterinary care for their animals, but realizing that I was really there in the capacity of helping those people and helping them feel cared for and seen. And there were, in the handful of people that came, there was a couple, I think we may have even talked about them on this podcast before, that an older couple, they have 3 dogs. Those dogs are everything to them. In fact, because they were unable to find affordable housing that would allow them to have their 3 dogs, they were living out of their van. And this is the thing, people will choose to remain with their animals if we can't provide safe housing and shelter that accepts and welcomes those animals. Then we're going to have this ongoing issue of people being unhoused and not having the care and the services they need. And realizing, seeing them with their dogs and realizing this was it, this is what they were holding on to and what was carrying them through this difficult time. And then me connecting with them, it was just mind-blowing, honestly, and just brought tears to my eyes because they were so grateful. And I realized that this was going to allow them to keep coming back and keep getting up every morning. And we came back every month and they would show up with their 3 dogs that were doing fine, by the way,
Yeah.
healthy animals. but just having that connection and recognizing that I understood what their bond was with their animals, and that was their reason to get up, keep going one more day, even in the most dire circumstances. So that was my introduction to not only what the Street Dog Coalition does, but really the impact. It's wonderful. We provide free veterinary care to pets of people experiencing homelessness, but really we are providing compassionate and complete non-judgmental love, unconditional love for these people. And, you know, it's to me, I still, every time I go out there, it still gets me. The news stories that I see, the people that I meet, it really is, as I said, it's truly a privilege to be able to help connect with those people, help them realize that they truly are doing everything they should be doing to care for their animals. And also realizing in many cases that is their lifeline. That is going to be what gets them through whatever adversity they're facing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I would talk all day about it, honestly. Obviously.
I love that, Hilary. I think so many, I remember you mentioning that story of that couple, and I think it is, and maybe you can speak to this a little bit too. I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but I am curious to know, oftentimes I've actually heard this a lot from people, even some of our volunteer vets. They have said, and this is maybe a belief you've held, it's something that maybe I've held in the past, but before we started working with the Street Dog Coalition, and before we started shifting our perspective on what it means to be experiencing homelessness, what it means to be a pet owner while you're unhoused, I think oftentimes in the past, we're kind of grappling with this idea of, how can we help, people or pets who can't help themselves, or like, is it even okay for these individuals to have pets? And I feel crazy forming those words in my mouth right now. It literally felt strange to say, but it's, I think, an important observation to make, in that there are so many misconceptions about whether or not people who are experiencing homelessness are capable of taking care of a pet, whether or not they're worthy of having a pet. And I'm curious to know, what are your thoughts on that? Like, what has your personal trajectory been in terms of, have you ever held those shameful views that I used to hold?
Yeah. And like you said, it's even hard for me to say the words out loud, but honestly, I think it's so important that those of us that are working in this community, we share our personal stories and our personal evolution when it comes to those beliefs. And, being a veterinarian, I can't tell you how many times in private practice, here's my kitty. This is what happens on a podcast with the Street Dog Coalition.
I love it. That's
Speaking of
Samosa.
animal bond, Samosa feels the need to be with me on this.
Oh my God.
So I will say that, there were many times where I would get frustrated with situations where people would come in, their animal's really sick. They say they don't have the money, they're going to just get rid of the animal. And you start to form these beliefs that if you can't afford veterinary care, you shouldn't have an animal. And, I think it's important to really pull out from that philosophy. There are situations where we are talking about in private practice, there are people that do have the funds and do have the finances, and unfortunately just don't prioritize those resources to care for their animals. That is very, very different from, does an individual deserve to have that deep connection with an animal that we all know is so important to what we do and how we operate in this world. Those of us who are enlightened enough to share our lives with animals. And it was really eye-opening to me. I would like to say that I was already starting to see that my views were flawed and that it wasn't that simple. But I will say that, my first few clinics with the Street Dog Coalition, it was a really eye-opening moment. And I really had to kind of go internally and think about those preconceived notions and really check myself in those beliefs and recognize that what we need to do is instead change the narrative. We need to make veterinary care accessible enough for people so they all can have those animals in their lives. And if it's between someone who has potentially a mental health challenge or struggle, or going through physical circumstances that are challenging for them, if having an animal is going to help them seek out not only help for their animal, but help for themselves, which is what we see every time we do these clinics. And that's the whole One Health perspective, is we're not only touching the lives of those animals, we are opening up the door for those people to accept some of the other forms of help that are out there. And so we really have to understand that every single individual deserves that and should have that. And it really is. I've certainly had, more people than I can count tell me I would not be here if it were for my dog, my cat, my rabbit, whatever the case may be. And it's intense, right? When you hear that, but I get it. And that is something that is so amazing about Street Dog Coalition, is it made me really understand that I was flawed in that. It's okay to look at that and see that you had some judgments that were there that I would like to not have. And I love that we approach all the care we provide in a non-judgmental way. And it's all about trust, right? Not just the people trusting us. We have to trust that they are coming to us because they need our help, but also because these are valuable human beings. Their lives are valuable. Everything that they stand for is something that teaches me a lesson every day. And it's an amazing connection that I get to develop with them. But yeah, I think we all need to just kind of stop and think about, how are we viewing this, and maybe change that whole way of thinking, and come volunteer with us, because we will show you exactly what we're talking about.
That's such a great point, Hilary, and thanks for shining a light on that. I think you're totally right. I think that until we begin to shift our perspective on what it means to be unhoused, what it means to be struggling financially, what it means to be a pet owner, and what happens when all of these three things combine, it's difficult for us to even have like an objective opinion about what these individuals are experiencing. And I love the idea of inviting people to volunteer and see for themselves firsthand what our clinics are all about. And I think it was Andrea who was on our podcast at one point, who's your Bay Area bestie. Yeah, your co-team lead. I said Bay Area bestie, but yeah, I think co-team lead sounds a little bit better. I think she was the one.
Really,
she's both. She's both. I think she was the one that said she expected to attend her first clinic thinking like, this is going to be really hard. I'm going to want to like take all these animals away from these individuals and adopt them myself, because I don't think I'm going to be able to like, witness these animals and these individuals together. And she was like, I wasn't even ready for what I experienced, which was the complete opposite, in that these individuals cared so deeply for these animals, almost on a level that she had never really experienced before. And these individuals were very attuned to their animals' needs and wants and desires, and told stories of how these animals saved them, how they saved these animals. And it's just really beautiful. And I have to say that, not to, equate my life experience at all with the life experience of of a person who is unhoused. But there have been times where like I've been struggling financially, and I've been a pet owner for like, over a decade. And there have been times, and it's funny, I think when I first adopted my cat, I was in college and I was broke with a fresh theater degree, ready to make no money. And the first thing my mom said to me was, people who can't take care of themselves should not be allowed to take care of animals. And of course, she said that because she knew that she would be footing the bill for this animal.
Right.
And of course, she did foot the bill for that animal for a while, but that narrative had kind of like stuck in my head. And there have been times since then where I've struggled financially, where I've kind of like doubted my worthiness of being a pet parent. And again, not to equate my life experience with the hardships that our clients face, but it is always a reminder to me personally. It's interesting how our perspectives on the world and our perspectives on these individuals and our ability to see ourselves in these individuals and vice versa. Doing this work has given me this newfound sense of worthiness and given me this newfound appreciation for my bond with my animals that I no longer feel, despite what my mother says to me, is contingent upon my financial status. So yeah, that's how I feel about it. And I'm sure others in the who volunteer, who are also struggling financially. We have a lot of people who volunteer who have received our services in the past or are still struggling financially. I know that it's this like kind of symbiotic relationship between us and our clients, their worthiness, our worthiness. So that was something I wasn't expecting to feel either.
Yeah. And I love that you're equating it to worthiness. I do always think of it as purpose
Yeah.
as well, right? That not only we are worthy of having that relationship with an animal, but also animals give us a sense of purpose. If you have to get up every morning and feed your dog, feed your cat, take them out to go potty, whatever the case may be, take your dog for a walk. I mean,
Yeah.
we haven't even touched upon the physiological benefits of a person having an animal in their life, of that human animal bond. I mean, we've shown scientifically that people's blood pressure lowers, that
This
we
is great. That was my next question. By the
Oh,
way,
was it? Oh, I
my
love
next
it.
question,
I love it.
was, why is it important to provide veterinary care and support to these pets? And how does
Yeah,
this contribute to the overall well-being of both the animals and their owners? So
yeah,
please keep it coming. Keep it
exactly.
coming.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. We know we're there to provide care that's essential. And of course, the health of the animal is a priority, but really we have to think about what are going to be those health benefits for those people. And yeah, I mean, we produce more of those good feel good hormones like endorphins when we're sitting with an animal. We know our heart rate lowers, the stress levels, your cortisol levels lower. All of that is, I mean, it really is amazing because it's reproducible when they do these studies. And I mean, now I feel like there are some human medical practitioners out there that are actually saying, get an animal, go get an animal, bring them into your life, because that will probably help you with whatever physical, mental challenge you are facing. And I love that. And we need to provide veterinary care for those animals. We need to make that accessible. We need to come to that table with a non-judgmental perspective on what we are doing and what the value of that is. And I do think if you were saying we can relate to going through our own financial struggles or even mental health struggles, which is all interconnected, right? If we can relate, can you even imagine what that experience is when you are experiencing homelessness?
Yeah.
And maybe you lost your job. I had a guy come to one of our clinics who shared his story with me, which you really do feel it's just an amazing experience when people will trust you enough to share those stories. But he was living with his mother, taking care of her. He has his dog and a cat. Everything was great. He's working at a job. He ends up losing his job. He's taking care of his mother. His mother passes away. the family comes in, they need to sell the home, which is the only home he's ever known. And he has his animals. And next thing you know, he's living in his car. And we are in the Bay Area, we're in Silicon Valley, where we see truly like the most wealthy people on the planet, in some cases, living next to one of the largest homeless encampments in the country.
Yeah.
And so it really is, you realize that there's a disconnect. Something's terribly wrong there, that we're not looking to see what's going on and what are the impacts of not just hearing about layoffs on the radio, but actually, oh, that was so old school that I just said radio, but I am old school. But we do have to understand what could be that impact beyond someone losing their job.
Right.
That could be the one thing that just, it's a ripple effect. And then next thing you know, they're unhoused. And that person, I mean, for him, he was so grateful that we could just reassure him that he was taking good care of his animals. And that was one thing that just he could be at peace with and know, okay, I don't have to worry about them. I'm doing what I should be doing. Now I can focus on what I need for myself.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is the other thing. We're trying to work with other healthcare practitioners to be able to offer those other services, and social workers, and everything that you can imagine we would all need just to be able to get up each day and live our lives. So it really is. I mean, I'm always amazed. In fact, my kitten was jumping on my lap while I was talking. I'm not even thinking about it. I'm petting him, right? And as I'm petting him, I feel this sense of calm.
Yeah.
And feel like there's hope in the world. And if we can get that sense of worthiness and purpose and hope from an animal, just imagine what that can do for someone who's facing adversity. And I want to share, there was a story recently that, thank you to Street Dog Coalition, that this situation kind of entered my world, as I was contacted by a social worker who works with a homeless healthcare support group. And she had a client that is a young adult who is unhoused, who is transitioning right now, and is really struggling from a mental health perspective, and has a cat that is everything to them. And they finally got a bed reserved at a shelter where the shelter allows cats, but the cat was not vaccinated. And they had 1 week to show proof of rabies vaccine. Otherwise, they would lose that bed and then be on the streets with their cat. And of course, we're not able to pull together a Street Dog Coalition clinic within a week. I had just done a clinic a couple of weeks ago. At first I thought, there's nothing I can do. And then I thought, wait a minute, there's always something we can do. And realizing that anything I could do to help really was going to be life-changing for this person. And really not just that, but probably save their life, because this person needed to have their cat in their life to allow them to keep breathing. Just as simple as that, just to keep breathing and keep going. And so I actually had them come to the practice where I work in my other job, and met with them. And the social worker came, and this individual is also deaf. And it was the most incredible experience. The social worker helped, who was also hearing impaired, helped with the translation. They have apps on your phone that can help with that translation.
Oh, nice. Of course they do. That's awesome.
I know, it was amazing. So again, we learn every day about things out there that we would never know about. And so I'm so grateful for that. But I had one of my employees who said, can I help you? I really want to be a part of this. And she's never volunteered at a Street Dog Coalition clinic. So it was amazing. We did a full exam. We talked through everything. We were able to give a rabies vaccine, and then the other core vaccinations that cats need to stay healthy and protected. We were able to apply flea prevention, all of this at no charge, of course. And also just tell them that how beautiful that cat is, and how healthy that cat is, and letting them know that they were clearly taking good care of that cat. And it was the most amazing moment. And of course, there were tears and gratitude. And just knowing that it took really only 15 minutes out of my day to
Yeah,
do that.
of course.
And realizing you can do it. You can make it happen. We all get so frenzied and think, I'm helpless. I can't do anything to help. You can. We can all just do those small acts of kindness.
Yeah.
And I then got the most beautiful email from that individual thanking me and really saying that I had not only allowed them to get a safe shelter for themselves and their cat, but also allowed them to just keep going one more day and know that there were kind people out there that would help them when they need help. So yeah, if I were never involved with Street Dog Coalition, this never would have happened. I would probably still be going on in my very narrow-minded perspective that, well, why do you have a pet if you can't pay for it? And I think of you with your college story. I had the same exact story. And even recently I was sharing that story and I said, I probably shouldn't have had a cat, that probably wasn't the most responsible decision. But then I thought, wait a minute, why was I not worthy enough to have a cat? Because I clearly needed that animal. It's a mutual rescue, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
We rescue them, but they're rescuing us. And we know that there's a reason we need these animals in our lives. And we just talked about all the potential health benefits, but really for me, it's the mental health benefits that,
Oh,
that we
totally.
see every day.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Hilary. Thanks for sharing that story with us. That's beautiful. And thank you for taking, I know you said it was 15 minutes out of your day. I'm sure it was a little bit longer than that.
Maybe a
little. But really,
we did have to move some mountains to get them transportation.
it's
Because
always
here's
something.
another thing we should all know.
Something.
The county has free transportation services for people at risk. They will not utilize those services for veterinary care. They don't consider that to be a category of services that requires their help. I mean, something is dreadfully wrong there, right? Which is why we do our work.
Yeah.
But we were able to actually get an Uber and get that person and the cat and the social worker to us and get them home safely.
Oh, wow. What a beautiful note to end on, Hilary. That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that story with us. And thank you for opening up about your own journey as well. I know that now I have a bunch of animals, but I still have that first animal that I adopted when I was in college. That's my black and white furry fluffy cat that's passed out in a corner somewhere. And she honestly changed. She's the reason why I work at Street Dog. She's the reason I went vegan. She's completely changed my perspective on my own life and the lives of all living beings. So it's I think that's something that we share in common with people who are pet owners, regardless of their financial status. And I feel that too when I go to these clinics. I just talk with people about their pets, and it's like for that moment, it doesn't really matter who gets a paycheck every 2 weeks. Like, we don't care. We don't talk about that. We are bonding on our mutual love for these furry, silly little creatures that curl up next to us at night, whether we're sleeping in a bed or we're sleeping, on a sleeping bag on the street. Like it literally, it doesn't matter. I actually sometimes even forget that there is that financial difference. And I'm laughing because, we both work for a nonprofit, so we're certainly not rolling in money here.
Right. Contrary to popular belief. Yes.
Hilary, thank you so much. I want to let our listeners know, those of you who are tuning in live, thank you so much for being a part of this beautiful conversation. And I want to encourage you to check out the show notes linked below here, somewhere here. We have links to our websites. We have links to our donation page. We have links to our volunteer page. And I want to encourage you to explore all the ways that you can get involved, all the ways that you can help on our website, whether it's coming to a street clinic, rolling up your sleeves and making a difference that way by helping us provide this free veterinary care to pets of people experiencing homelessness, or whether it is, joining our monthly donation club and giving us a few, throwing us a few bones. This is a new expression I've been using in fundraising. Throwing us a few bones.
Hey, it fits.
I kind of like it.
Bones. I mean,
It's
yeah,
lame.
I'm going to echo that shameless plug that really we couldn't do what we do without the people that are our followers, the people that support us, and whether that means volunteering, making a financial contribution, following what we do and spreading awareness, being an advocate. If you volunteer at a clinic, you get to experience that human animal bond, every connection you make with the people that come with their animals. I mean, I always love it because I find myself holding, this puppy, kitten, every time they come, and I'm getting my own little surge of endorphins, right? So yeah, you too can experience that. And just remembering that having that animal in your life, and for everyone we help through Street Dog Coalition, that animal is their home.
Yeah.
Right. We know that whole social construct of what a home is flawed. That relationship, that connection, that's home. So whatever we can do to foster that relationship and the human animal bond, we need you. And I would love for anyone watching this to put in a comment of how they have experienced the human animal bond and share that with others. We love to hear your stories.
Yes, please do share your stories. By all means, reach out to them, share them. We have Dee Jones actually just left a comment on our Facebook Live. Dee says, I serve with the Topeka Street Dog Coalition team. It's a privilege and my pleasure to support the human animal bond. Oh, thank you so much, Dee. That's fantastic. And I know that you are in great hands over in Topeka with Dr. Allison Crow, who is just a legend.
She's a rock star.
A total rock star, an incredible voice for animals in her community. Talk about someone who goes above and beyond. That's an entirely different podcast episode because she's so great. And Dee, you're so great too. Thanks so much for tuning in with us live and for chiming in. It really means the world to us to hear from people who are doing this incredible work that we just spent this time talking about. So thank you, Dee. Thank you, Hilary. Thank you, everyone who is listening and tuning in. This community has changed my life, and Hilary, I know it's changed yours, and it's changed the lives of all of our listeners too on some level. So thank you, Hilary. Thanks for taking time to chat with me today. You are the absolute best, and I love you so, so, so much. And I'm sure I'll be seeing you in a meeting or two or three.
Yes. See you on the Zoom.
Thanks, Hilary,
for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so
great.
much. And thanks to everyone who tuned in. Take care. Bye, Hilary.
Bye.